Now that we have this fender flare on, didn't quite follow the curve of the old one, but it's close enough. You'll never know. Well, you guys will know, and I'll know. What are we going to do today? We're going to wire these guys up here. Bought these on eBay. I bought for 5 of them on eBay. I paid $7 a piece, shipped. So they're worth what you pay for. I've got one on the Harley, and I've got 2 as backup lights on the Suburban. I had intended to put these on the red truck, but you see, red truck's gone. So we're going to wire them in. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is, I got one of these little bitty round light up switches, and this is a cigarette port here. I don't really need this one. This is a switched. I've got one right here. That's hot all the time. I've got one of these little 3 cigarette port adapter things. One is to my flashlight, one goes to my GPS, and then one is a dual one for charging phones. That's really all I need. I don't need this one, so I'm going to even use the power on this one, so I can't inadvertently leave it on. I need the key on. So let's pull this bottom panel off. Let's take a look and see what the connector looks like in here, and let's figure it out.
So you may be asking yourself right now, Self, how long has a beekeeper been making videos? Well, the right answer to that would be for YouTube, I don't know, 8, 9 years, somewhere around there. So you would think somebody that's made over 900 videos for YouTube would know how to work his equipment, but well, here you have it, vertical filming. The previous clip you saw with me pulling that access panel off, I had the Contour Roam camera magnetically mounted to the bracket, the seat bracket. And the unique thing about the Contour Roam is that you can spin the lens to change. So if you pendant, if you hang the camera upside down, you take that lens, you could change the orientation. You could spin it 180 degrees so it's upright. In my case, in that last shot there, I rotated it 90 degrees so it looked upright. And then I forgot to put it back to the 12 o'clock position. Now, modern cameras, like the GoPros, can justify that in software, but this older GoPro, which is, I think it's pretty good, and they're great cameras, but you have to be smarter than the equipment, and you got to remember to put the lens spun back to 12 o'clock position. So I figured this footage was somewhat worthwhile, so I would include it, because when you rotate 90 degrees in iMovie, you get this. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So what am I doing here? Right here, I'm building a wiring harness for those 2 lights. I'm using 2 18 gauge stranded low voltage wire. I'm using yellow and green because I've got two full spools of it. Full spools of it. Yeah, that sounded right in my head and coming out my mouth. I have it left over from previous life when I used to build wiring harnesses when I used to learn how to speak. When I used to build wiring harnesses custom for cars and hot rod cars, like tire wiring harnesses for cars or for specialty equipment like airbags and whatnot. So I've got quite an inventory of different color wires, different gauge wires. I felt the yellow and green was adequate because green is for ground and the yellow is the bright sun colored. It's for the positive. It's a positive color. I don't know. I just, yeah. So all the solder joints, or I should say all the joints are being soldered and not butt connected because this is going to be living outside. I don't want any corrosion in there. And I'm using the Milwaukee heat gun here to shrink it. Putting heat shrink tubing over every solder connection as well as one continuous piece of heat shrink tubing from the lights all the way down the cab to the frame rail. And then from the frame rail into the vehicle, I'll probably just run it in split loom because that'll be fine. That'll be a little more protected underneath the truck. In theory, and I ended up running it along that driver's side frame rail alongside another split loom wiring harness for the truck. And it's fine. Up through the firewall into the dash. And we hooked into that ignition controlled power lead, which would normally have controlled that power port in the dash. It all worked out well, I think. Well, I don't know. Stay tuned. We'll see where we're at. Yeah, lots of zip ties too. I ran it across the top of this headache rack and used the expanded metal to anchor all the zip ties to. Pretty happy with how it came out.
Well, that ended up taking way longer than anticipated. If you're wondering why I use green and yellow, I have a ton of green and yellow. So when I used to build wiring harnesses, low voltage wiring harnesses, and whatever, that was almost a full bag of sunflower seeds. They work though. I have to put everything back together, and I gotta clean it up. Put the panel back on, vacuum. This actually is, I thought it was a low voltage switch. This actually is 125 volt. So the indicator light won't work on this because it's not enough voltage, but get that out of there. I may swap that out with something else. I mean, it's pretty obvious when things are on. So let's do this. Oh wait, derp. I need the keys on. Dummy. Well, those are pretty bright lights. They're $7. I'm really happy with them. So what we'll do, I'm going to vacuum this up. I got to vacuum out the back of the truck here with all the zip ties and got everything heat shrunk, zipped in. Not a big fan of how that cable hangs on the top. It is what it is. And we'll come back later after it's dark and we'll see just how bright these lights are. Okay. All right, so it's dark. Let me set you guys here. You know it's going to blind you, right? You do know this. Oh, that's nice. That's like super nice. So if you're backing up a trailer, you got tons of light. If you're loading up your bed at night, you can see all the dents in the fender well there, the wheel well. Oh yeah, we're gonna call this one successful. All right, let me sit you down. Sorry guys, gotta go, gotta run. See ya. It's like a raw dick. You can't beat it.